Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's disability information video. This week we will be discussing the topic of vision loss, which is a pretty significant life event for those who go through it. What I want to give is a bit of a background for this topic. So I want to bring up and kind of contextualize this topic by saying the proper functioning of our senses is really crucial to how we interpret and interact with the world around us. Our senses are how we take in information from the outside world, which helps us determine the appropriate course of action in the world in whatever situation we are faced with. So really, it's important when you're deciding how to act in the world, you have to know what's going on in the world, right? And the way you do that is through your senses. So every human being uses every sense that they have at their disposal. So for most people, this comes down to, vision, touch, taste, smell, and hearing. Those are the 5 core senses that we use to interpret and interact with the world. But it's important to recognize that we don't necessarily use all these senses to the same degree. We tend to prefer some senses over other senses in interpreting the world. And most humans actually are very visually oriented creatures. For many, it is the sense we rely on the most for interpreting and interacting with the world around us. Vision is very important for humans, and in fact, a large portion of our brain is dedicated to the processing of visual information. This is actually what science has revealed is that humans on average have the best eyesight of any mammal, at least in the daytime. So our vision as humans is very good for most people, and it's the sense that a lot of humans rely on the most. So that's sort of the context I want to give to kind of get people thinking about this topic, because when we're talking about vision loss, the reason for it's so difficult for a lot of people is because vision is such a heavily relied on sense to interpret the world around us. So imagine losing the core way that you interact with the world. You can no longer rely on your sight to interpret the world when you have vision loss. So you're basically losing the central way that a lot of people interact with the world. And that's why vision loss can be extremely challenging to deal with. So with that kind of context in mind, I'm going to go through a couple of possible causes of vision loss, just as a brief summary. So there are a number of potential causes, and this includes things like cataracts, which is like cloudiness in the lens of the eye. It can be age-related macular degeneration, which affects the clarity of your vision in your direct line of sight. So when we use our vision, we're usually focusing on one object and not everything at once. And so age-related macular degeneration can affect the clarity of our vision in that direct line of sight. And another cause can be glaucoma. So this occurs from a buildup of pressure, which damages your optic nerve, which is the nerve that transforms sensory data from your eyes into nerve signals or neural impulses that communicate the sensory data to your brain. So damage to the optic nerve caused by glaucoma can affect an individual's ability to take in sense data using their eyes. Another cause is diabetic retinopathy. I hope I pronounced that right, which is a condition in diabetes where low blood sugar affects the blood vessels in your eyes, causing vision loss. Other causes could be infections, and really there's many different causes of vision loss that I've covered only a portion of them. So what's another important thing to recognize is that vision loss isn't necessarily discussing only states where someone completely loses their vision. Vision loss can refer to anything from mild vision loss, so slight blurriness in your vision, all the way down to complete and total vision loss. So there's really a range in vision loss, and someone's experience of vision loss is going to differ depending on how severe it is. So someone with minor vision loss might just need glasses, whereas someone with severe vision loss leading to blindness might require a lot more strategies and aids to help them manage this. So now that I've sort of brought up the topic of managing vision loss, I'm just going to talk a bit about some of the strategies that people use when they have vision loss to kind of reorganize their life. So as I discussed a bit earlier, our heavy reliance on eyesight as humans as a means of interpreting the world means that vision loss ends up being a profoundly life-changing experience. People undergoing this process have to learn new strategies to safely navigate the world around them. So strategies that they didn't have to use before because they had their vision to rely on. So things like your daily routines and your hobbies have to change generally. And it's often, because of this, vision loss can often be associated with a lower quality of life, as you're unable to stay as physically and mentally active as the ways you were before, because the vision loss prevents you from engaging in the activities that you once were able to do because you quite simply can't see. So you with vision loss, it leads to a really big restructuring of a person's life. And one of the greatest challenges in vision loss is the mobility issues. So basically, because someone's vision is lost, they are no longer able to see the obstacles in their path. This can lead, and often does lead to falls and injuries. So someone with vision loss just doesn't see an obstacle, they hit it and they hurt themselves, or perhaps they can trip over things and fall because, again, they just can't see it. So mobility issues are a really important issue for vision loss, and that's probably where a lot of the most amount of research has gone into developing aids to help people with vision loss in managing this aspect of the disorder. So, and another important thing to recognize is that vision loss can also amplify the effects of other chronic conditions due to the general loss in functioning. So this can further lead to a decreased ability to manage other conditions. So it makes it a lot more difficult to manage the other illnesses or afflictions that the person may have when they experience vision loss. So now I'm just going to go through a couple of tools and strategies that people have developed to manage vision loss. So walking sticks are one of the more common and effective ways of dealing with some of the mobility issues related to vision loss. So the aim is basically to use the stick to help detect obstacles in someone's path before they bump into it with their body. Another common tool is guide dogs. There's a lot of other tools that have been developed over the years. And one last thing I wanted to mention as a strategy for dealing with vision loss is the fact that a lot of people who experience vision loss have to reorganize their place of living so as to minimize the obstacles and potential hazards. So one important thing for people with vision loss to keep in mind is the effective design of their, accommodation or their place of living, so that they don't have those obstacles in their path day to day. So that's a really important consideration to make, but obviously that doesn't necessarily help when the person with vision loss is out and about on the streets and has obstacles that they can't control. So that's why these other tools such as guide dogs and walking sticks have been developed. Overall, just to wrap up, I want to acknowledge that while vision loss is certainly an extremely challenging life event for anyone who experiences it, it is important for those experiencing it to know that there are resources available to help. Effective treatment can help slow vision loss in many conditions, and there are also tools and strategies available for when vision loss becomes a reality. So I just wanted to share that as kind of a message of hope for people who are maybe experiencing vision loss, as it is a common thing to experience, especially with aging. So now that I've discussed what vision loss is, what it means, and some strategies and tools, we're going to move into the second portion of our video, which will be an interview with someone with lived experience with vision loss. I'll see you in that portion of the video right now. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the interview portion of this week's RCD ShareNet video on vision loss. Joining me this week is Tommy, who is the Client Care Navigator for Vision Loss Rehabilitation Canada. So it's an organization that deals with vision loss. So he's a professional related to this topic. And so thanks for joining me today, Tommy.
Thank you for having me, Oliver.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. And then the first question I wanted to ask you is, what are two aspects of your life that vision loss affects that other people might not know or think about?
Yeah. So, when you send me these questions, it's kind of lots of thought obviously gone through my head. And first of all, just to let people know as well, other than kind of serving kind of people with vision loss, I personally have vision loss as well. I'm actually completely blind for about 20 years or so. So it's kind of lots of experience, and it helps with the role. And I'll say two kind of funny things or that I can think of when these questions kind of came across. One is that I guess it's a stereotype. When people see that I'm blind, they say, "Oh, Braille," and give me something Braille to read. I can tell you that I know a little bit of Braille, but if it's gonna be like a ransom note, I'm gonna die. So it's just like Braille, and I know Braille and blindness sounds like it go hand in hand, but it's actually a relatively complicated system, and it's not something that everyone knows when they're blind, and especially for someone like myself who could have lost their sight later in life, it's actually something that I do need to learn. So I know a little bit enough to read like business cards, elevators, play card games and stuff like that. But definitely it's a not a fluent Braille reader. So that's one. Another one that I can think of that actually it's a funny one, and it's one that people I think will be surprised, is that I can actually watch movies and things like that. And it's something that I'm a movie buff, so to speak, and people enjoy going to movie with me for a couple of reasons. One is that there are in the movie theaters there are kind of discounts for going with me, and also there are something called descriptive videos where of course on the screen a lot of things everything is visual other than the dialogues. There's the audio description actually goes into details about what's happening and stuff like that. Give me clues over with a headphone. So a lot of times when I go to movie with friends, I know all the detail because it was scripted, narrative wise. And at the end of the movies, I know more than my sighted friends because they would ask me, "So what's going on there?" And I actually point stuff out to them. So in a way, because I'm blind, I can see the movie better than most people.
Wow, that is very interesting. Those are two like really interesting aspects of vision loss that I think you've addressed there. Like, because I think people do associate vision loss with Braille, so it's interesting that that's not really a big part of vision loss at all to you personally, and I would imagine to a lot of others. And also the fact that most people would expect that movies are right out of the picture when you have vision loss, but to you experience it in greater detail than other people. So I think those are two really important things to bring up. And now the next thing I wanted to ask you, Tommy, is what have been two of the most important things for you in managing vision loss?
I think, yeah, it's, again, these are, it's definitely more than two things.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but I wanted to narrow it down to two things. One, kind of at the beginning when I started to lose my vision. Another one is kind of an ongoing kind of thing that is very kind of supportive. And the ongoing part is definitely kind of my peers. Whether or not is kind of sighted peer or kind of other peers with vision loss is very important, and still is, like, what's important is still kind of are very important to support, especially at the beginning, because like I'm sure a lot of people can relate. When you started having eye condition and started losing your vision, you're very panicky, and you feel very isolated. I certainly feel very isolated, and my friends, family, they're very supportive. So that's helpful in kind of moving me along, and then connecting with people who have vision loss. Give me that kind of hope and perspective as well, because I feel like I'm always going to live in the sighted world, so to speak, and kind of losing that was very scary. I don't know what to do, but kind of connecting with other people who had the experience can give me some sense of direction. It's like, oh, you can still do this, and other kind of resources out there. That was very helpful kind of at the beginning. And now ongoing, I think, yeah, there's so many. I have I have a guide dog right next to me. Fortunately, she's not snoring, so it's not being recorded. So that's one thing that's very helpful. And another one is technology. I have to say is kind of one of the biggest one. That's going back to the last question. Is part of why that I don't need to spend like years and years practicing Braille. Is because now technology is very helpful, very adaptive, and is, sorry, I'm going on a little bit. It's not just helping people with vision loss. Like I have the smartphone, computer who speaks, and even now with a lot of smart speaker out there, who is verbally commanded, things like that, is kind of bringing kind of more support to the population in general as well. Because that's something that's not only helpful for people with sight loss, but kind of people having that smart speakers at home, kind of doing different things, is helpful in other people's daily life as well. So those are the two things I think that's kind of is going to be very helpful in my journey personally.
Yeah, I think those are two really great answers, because like as you mentioned, having a social support network is very important. I mean, for everyone, but especially if you have vision loss, because it's something that a lot of people, it's a state of experiencing the world that a lot of people can't necessarily relate to. So it'd be useful to have that network to kind of get ideas and share perspectives on kind of how to manage it. And then, yeah, your second point on how technology has made things hopefully a lot easier and just a lot more seamless in your transition to kind of life with vision loss. I think that's a really important and hopeful thing to bring up. So thank you for those insights. And now I wanted to move on to kind of the next phase of our interview, where we kind of want to spread a bit of positivity when we're talking about these topics. So the question I wanted to ask you now is, what sort of things really make your day?
Oh, that's so many things that makes my day. Again, sorry, I know you want one thing I could mention already.
Share a couple, it's all good.
It's my dog makes my day. She's been great. She's gonna, when I walk out of my bedroom, she's usually the person to greet me, and she's very cuddly, that definitely, having her around makes my day. Definitely, it's just it's not just a tool for kind of mobility. Having the guide dog around just overall kind of makes it a little bit more, like, not just a little bit, like a lot more pleasant experience. That definitely is number one, I guess. And kind of going back to my role, just having able to talk to other people with vision loss, and kind of knowing that I went through kind of experiences, and talking to other people who are kind of starting their journey, and kind of offering them the hope, the resources, able to kind of see kind of, my clients kind of going through the journey from kind of, very kind of sad, frustrated, to kind of being able to, thrive, and to kind of do different things. Those two things are definitely kind of what makes my day, meaningful and great for sure.
Yeah, I think, two, again, great answers. I think
I cheated, sorry.
No, it's okay. I'll forgive you. I think positivity is something I don't want to limit the spread of positivity. So yeah, thank you for those answers as well. I think those, having animals is, I a huge advocate. I have a dog. I love my dog. I have two dogs and they're both wonderful. So big advocate for that. And
for sure. I bet you can't bring your dog everywhere, but I can.
I wish I could. So the last question I have for you today is, what words of empowerment or encouragement would you give to people with vision loss?
I think like the word of encouragement I would give is that it's certainly, scary at first, and it's kind of, it's very kind of traumatic, when you're, having that diagnosis, not sure where to turn. I'll encourage, to reach out for help, because lots of help and resources are out there, as we talked about today. Just in these brief information, we have technologies, we have guide dogs, we have like me, like the whole organization who offers support. It is very daunting going through the journey by yourself when you have vision loss. Every, like, literally at the beginning, walking out of my room, sometimes I kick myself, around the corner. It's kind of, that's like a reminder. It's like, oh, I can't see, how am I going to make the rest of the way? And then it's kind of it is very daunting when you have to suffer by yourself. And I would kind of strongly encourage, to reach out and to kind of, verbalize it, and to kind of let other people know what you're going through, and connect with people who have similar experiences, so that you don't feel as isolated, and you're certainly not alone in this journey. And then, you'll be able to kind of look for resources, and there's lots of people along the way who are willing to help. So reach out.
Absolutely. I think that's a huge, important point to emphasize, is that there's support networks that we have in place to help people as they go through vision loss or other disorders or disabilities. So you're doing your part to kind of fulfill that role through your position as a client care navigator at the Vision Loss Rehabilitation Canada. So thank you for doing your part to support people with vision loss, and also thank you for joining me today and sharing your insights and lived experience. We really appreciate it. And I want to thank the audience for joining us this week. And I look forward to seeing everyone next week for our next video. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.